Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So we've been getting up there in prices on these budget style videos lately. So today I want to switch it up a bit and talk about some affordable CGC 9.8 comics to collect. And for this video, I do want to stick to modern comics and, sort of like new modern comics. So we'll go from like 1999 up to present day for the era. And we'll set a budget here of $200 US just to keep things affordable. But this list just really turned out fantastic. Yeah, so much so, I was doing a little research last night for the video here. I ended up pulling the trigger on a CGC 9.8 that we'll talk about here in the video. But, it was just really affordable and, maybe it was a bit of an impulse purchase, but I think I'll really enjoy having this one in my collection. I'm really glad I ended up pulling the trigger. So we'll get into all those details, but just a great bang for your buck on all these books, I think. Yeah, really solid list here. So let's get right into it here. I got 7 affordable modern CGC 9.8 comics to buy and hold forever. Okay, first one is a 0.1 number 1 in the CGC 9.8. This is the first appearance of New Nova, Sam Alexander. And New Nova certainly has a big cult of fans, I've noticed. I think that's a really big positive for kind of a new character. Just me here in the last kind of 4 or 5 years of just talking to collectors and things like that, you often hear like, oh, have you read like any New Nova stuff? Like, oh yeah, New Nova, Sam Alexander is awesome. So I think, having a really big kind of cult of fans that really likes this book is a super positive for it, I think, for sure. I really enjoy the variant cover of this 0.1 number 1. You might still want to consider the first print cover. It's an Andy Kubert cover. It's not too bad. It seems to be maybe like, $20 or $30 less than the Bradshaw variant, which has become kind of the one to get in this one. It's such an eye-peeling cover. Yeah, this is right up my alley as far as covers that I love. I love a lot of color, a lot of action, and I mean, you pretty much got every superhero, Marvel superhero on this one, and the awesome wraparound cover that I think is so collectible. So this one's got a lot going for it. Yeah, 0.1 number 1. So let's take a look at that variant cover, the Bradshaw variant on the CGC Census. There's a 255 9.8s in the blue label. Not too bad for kind of a new first appearance of a hero. 72.9% the 9.8 ratio. So of all graded copies, 72.9% of them are 9.8s. And, with an affordable list here of some moderns, you're not really going to get super rare 9.8s because these books are so cool that if they were rare in the 9.8, they would be way more expensive. So, yeah, not too rare 9.8 ratios on this list. 0.1 number 1 is still pretty affordable now, but this Bradshaw variant has had a interesting price history. So 3 kind of complete listings I'm seeing I think are decent prices here. $154, one went for $168, and one for $170.16. All CGC 9.8s of this variant cover. So if we talk about the price history for this one, this one's on a good trend, I would say. I remember this one just kind of catching my eye like over a year ago just because the cover was really cool. And, in auctions, it would kind of sell for like 90 to $100. Right around that sort of level. Like it was a modern speculation, I guess. So this book's done pretty well in the last 6 to 12 months of CGC 9.8s, most of them doing pretty well. This one has done pretty well too. But even interesting too, like it was like 3 or 4 months ago, there was a bit of a rumor, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but a bit of a rumor about New Nova, Sam Alexander. This one had kind of popped up to around $200. Yeah, I think a couple auctions were like $205, $201 kind of thing on the back of those rumors. So now, it's maybe lulling a bit. And I just think right now for, let's call it close to 150, like one sold for 154. I think that's a pretty great price. If you can get one of these in that Bradshaw variant, 9.8 for 154, I think it's just a pretty fantastic buy right now with, yeah, as I said, Nova's got that cult of fans, and I think there's some underrated potential moving forward. Like, certainly, if New Nova was in, like, a New Nova movie or something like that, or some type of pop culture event or show happened, this book would be certainly a lot more. But if not, just a great cover that you can enjoy and collect, too. So a lot of things going for 0.1 number 1, the Bradshaw variant in the CGC 9.8. Okay, next one here is a really cool book. It's Batman Beyond Return of the Joker number 1. Yeah, so I brought out my raws here. This one in the CGC 9.8 has unfortunately eluded me. I do not have this one. Good story with this one, depending on how you look at it, but I came across a Batman Beyond Return of the Joker number 1 in the 9.8 over a year ago now. Yeah, it was like last year, maybe last summer or something like that. It was $99.99 in a buy it now, very attractively priced buy it now for a book like this. I sort of put it on my watch list, thought about it, not really sure, I can't even really remember why I didn't buy it, but it ended up selling in like 2 days. So I've sort of really been hitting myself since then for this book, being a big Batman Beyond fan. I love Batman Beyond. Yeah, I got 2 in the raw. These are part of, I have the original Batman Beyond series from 1 to 6, 2 times over, with the Return of the Jokers as well. So those are some of my, big Batman Beyond prize possessions, I would say. But I hadn't got this one in the 9.8, and ever since that $100 buy it now in the 9.8, everyone I've saw this is like, $225, $250 or best offer. Like, you never see anything close to that $100 usually. But in the 9.8, it's a pretty great collector item if you're a Batman Beyond fan. 49 CGC 9.8s in the blue label. 52.7% is the 9.8 percentage. So of all graded copies, 52.7% of them are 9.8s. So this one, interesting. I'm not seeing any completed listings on eBay either. Yeah, this one's tough to find. It's, you don't see too many of them pop up. Only 49 of them out there, so that's the reason why. But I think a great price on this one is kind of $150 to $175. I don't think the $100 is doable anymore. Maybe if you get super lucky, you get it closer to $100 in an auction or something like that. But if this one popped up for $150 with decent shipping to Canada, I would just be super tempted, being such a big Batman Beyond fan. So this is one you want to consider if you're a Batman Beyond fan in the 9.8. It kind of fits if you're on a bit of a budget too, with Batman Beyond number 1 in the 9.8, just like, over, I think, $1,500 now pretty much for that one in the 9.8. And I love that book. I got 2 of them in the 9.8. That's one I kind of bought when I first got into collecting like 2 or 3 years ago, and it's done so well. But if you're a Batman Beyond fan, Batman Beyond Return of the Joker number 1, hopefully around 150 in the CGC 9.8, is a great book to consider. Okay, next one is the comic book I purchased doing some of the research for the video. Yeah, it's a Totally Awesome Hulk number 22. Yeah, this is the first full appearance of Weapon H. Really cool Weapon H cover too, I think. So, whenever Wolverine and Hulk are kind of in the same storyline in any way, it's pretty cool. I think it's really cool, this whole idea of kind of giving Hulk the Weapon X treatment. I think that's just an awesome idea. So, coolness all around on this one, I think. And the bit of a negative about this book is it's not that rare on the census. So I've said in the past on this one, rather than getting a 9.8, might just be worth getting a couple nice raws. Like, you'll save a little bit of money. It's not very rare in the 9.8. But clearly I did end up pulling the trigger on this, as I said. So let's look on the census though. There's 1,708 CGC 9.8s in the blue label. That's a lot for a modern comic book. Yes, this one is really popular. Yes, a lot of people think it's cool like I do, but still a lot. 1,708 9.8s. And kind of makes it even worse is the, of all graded copies, 84.6% of them are CGC 9.8. So almost all of them are 9.8s. And yeah, like maybe if it was just somehow a little bit more rare in the 9.8, this one, there'd be closer to 1,000 of them. And it would maybe be a little bit more attractive, but there's just a lot of 9.8s for this one. But such a cool comic book, as I said, for all those reasons. First full appearance of Weapon H, such a great idea. So I ended up grabbing one in the CGC 9.8 blue label. It was $84.75. And yeah, shipping was like just under 20 bucks shipping to Canada, which is really good. Like usually, anywhere from kind of $20 to $30 I consider decent shipping from the United States. This one just under 20 bucks, so it made sense from that perspective as well. But if we talk about some pricing history for this one in the blue label CGC 9.8 for Totally Awesome Hulk 22, got mine for $84.75. There's a seller online that has 10 of these, and it's one of those listings where all 10 are in the listing, and it says like 7 of them have sold already. So there's one of those listings That one is $92. Yeah, it was $92, that one. So 7 have sold at $92, and the shipping was more expensive on that listing for me. So to get one at $84.75 with cheaper shipping kind of made sense for me, a little bit less than, you know, an auction where, or a listing where 7 had already sold for a little bit more price, plus the shipping was cheaper. Now, I did see one in an auction go for $71. And yeah, I think some people do kind of aim for just the low 70s on this because it's not rare in the 9.8, and I don't blame you for that. For me, I just, you know, saw the decent shipping in Canada and also said there maybe it was a bit of a, you know, an in-the-moment kind of purchase, an impulse buy. But given just how cool it is, I actually am really happy that I pulled the trigger on this one, and I'll have this one in a nice, perfect CGC 9.8 with a great cover. Yeah, totally awesome Hulk. First full appearance of Weapon H is just such a cool idea. So, you know, to get this one for kind of less than $100 all in for me was, I think, a pretty great buy. If you want to be really strategic on Totally Awesome Hulk 22 9.8, hopefully closer to $70 you could possibly do. But I grabbed one for $84.75. Okay, next one here. Another kind of a Wolverine modern key issue that I think is really cool to consider. Yeah, it's a Wolverine number 66. This is the first Old Man Logan story. So kind of first appearance of Old Man Logan, if you want to call it that. This is pretty well collected, I would say. It's got an interesting price history to it as well, too, because, yeah, I saw one on eBay just sell in the last little bit here for $110. But I think when I first got into collecting, in like, you know, call it 3-4 years ago now, I remember this one just being, it seemed like it was really more collected. And I think because back then there were the Old Man Logan new comic books, and that was a pretty popular series that a lot of people were reading. So this one back then, I always thought it would be about, you know, maybe $150, $140. But one selling for $110. I think Wolverine 66, the first Old Man Logan in the first print, is, yeah, at that price is just one to consider. Absolutely. If you're a big Wolverine fan, this is kind of a cool modern Wolverine key. Absolutely. So there's a 508 CGC 9.8 in the blue label for the first print. First print's looking pretty cool too. 49.6%, the 9.8 ratio. So about half of them are 9.8s. Which keeps it pretty affordable. And in the 9.8, about 110 is what I saw one sell for. Maybe even get this one closer to 100. Yeah, I do think this is an affordable modern in the CGC 9.8 to focus on right now. Certainly if you're a Wolverine fan. Yeah, Wolverine 66 in the 9.8, first Old Man Logan. You want to consider this one at that right around $100 price, I think. Okay, next one here is a really cool modern as well. It's a Spider-Gwen number 24. This is when Gwen Stacy becomes Gwenom. Yeah, this is a pretty cool moment in comics, I think. Super collectible. We'll talk about the first print on the census and everything here. I do like the first print. It's a pretty cool cover. There's a bunch of J. Scott Campbell additions to this one. The one where it's like Gwenom on the cover of the J. Scott Campbell cover is pretty cool too. We'll kind of touch on both of the prices, but in the first print with the black cover, I like this cover as well. And we'll look on the census for that one. There's a 379 CGC 9.8s with this black cover. Not too bad for, yeah, first Gwenom, I guess. And yeah, who knows, like, they keep going with the Into the Spider-Verse movies over the next, you know, 10 years here or whatever it might be. Certainly Spider-Gwen's been such a big hit. Maybe Venom symbiote takes over Spider-Gwen, eh? That could happen. 80% of all graded copies are 9.8, so not too rare in the 9.8. This one in the first print in auctions are going right around $150. And this one too, a bit similar to some of these books on the list here, where I think this one, you know, maybe like 4 to 6 months ago, just kind of heated up a little bit with, you know, maybe it was like Into the Spider-Verse 2's coming out, maybe with some of those announcements. This one kind of got into that sort of 175 to 200 range. Whereas now I think most auctions are kind of going around 150. So this cooled off a little bit. And I think, you know, if you want this one, if you're interested in Gwenom, I think this is a really cool one to get. Yeah, if you can get the first print, let's call it for 150 or less, I think is a great buy. So the J. Scott Campbell one with Gwenom on the cover, I think it's like cover C or something. I didn't look it up this morning, but that's kind of the J. Scott Campbell one I would recommend. If you're looking for that one, I think it's probably going to be about 170 to 180. You know, maybe even pushing 200 for, you know, a little bit more expensive, I think, for some of the J. Scott Campbell ones. Specifically, I think with that one with Gwenom on the cover. That's probably the other one I'd consider. But this first print is pretty cool. I think right around 150 bucks. First Gwenom, Spider-Gwen number 24 is a cool modern to consider in the 9.8. Okay, next one here is a Dark Knight's Metal number 2. Yeah, Dark Knight's Metal number 2. I've talked about this one a couple times, and I do still think it's pretty undervalued with that awesome cameo of the Batman Who Laughs. It is really pretty much like a first appearance. It's like a cameo that happens over like 2 pages, I think, where it kind of shows his Robins running up and everything too. So a really cool cameo. Even Scott Snyder, who wrote the thing, kind of says this is the first appearance of the Batman Who Laughs. So if we talk about Dark Knight's Metal number 2, we'll focus on the Mattina Virgin Edition here, because in the first prints, they're pretty cool too, but you don't get the Batman Who Laughs on the cover or anything. But I mean, you might want to consider some of the first prints. Some of the covers are pretty cool, but they just don't have Batman Who Laughs on the cover. This one here is, I believe it's a 3rd printing officially, but the Mattina Virgin Edition, there was only 700 copies of these, and obviously Batman Who Laughs is on the cover, coinciding with his first cameo appearance. So that's why this one's kind of collectible, and I'd probably go with the Mattina Virgin Edition if you wanted to buy one of these in the 9.8. But Dark Knight's Metal number 2, the Mattina Virgin, there's 202 9.8s in the blue label, 94.4% the 9.8 ratio. So yeah, only 700 of these ever printed, 202 9.8s, and almost all of them going to CGC are 9.8, so it's not rare in the 9.8. A lot of how these sort of second and third print, special cover books sort of end up not being rare in the 9.8, certainly not as rare as the first print. So Dark Knight's Metal number 2, the Mattina Virgin Edition. So I think a great price, and I'm still seeing kind of one completed listing in the last month for $75. Yeah, right around that price I think is a great buy for this one in the 9.8. There's been some that have sold since that are kind of in the 120 range, like over 100. So maybe this one's heating up a little bit, I'm not too sure, but if you can swing it, close to 75, I think is a great price for a Dark Knight's Metal number 2. Yeah, even though this one's not rare in the 9.8, I think you can make a good case that you're like, yes, this is the first appearance of the Batman Who Laughs in a sweet cameo, and it's probably better than most cameos. So this could be his first full appearance. Scott Snyder does say it's his first full appearance, so this one's a bit undervalued, I think. Certainly, I think it could get possibly up to the sort of $200 mark over time with Teen Titans 12 in the 9.8. That one's really rare, and it's the first full appearance of the Batman Who Laughs. That one's like 550 in the 9.8. So maybe this one, it's not as rare in the 9.8, but maybe it kind of catches up a little bit in price. So a bit undervalued, I think, for Dark Knight's Metal number 2. And that Mattina Virgin Edition is pretty cool, and one you want to consider if you're a Batman Who Laughs fan. Okay, last one on the list here of affordable modern CGC 9.8 comics to buy and hold forever. It's an Annihilation Conquest number 6. Yeah, we've talked about this book periodically lately, and I think it's, it's kind of heating up with the sort of broader CGC 9.8 market. I think a lot of kind of common, cool key issues are doing really good. This one, definitely noticing kind of a price increase. Yeah, sort of pushing the affordable budget, I think, on this one, but I did want to include it because I think it's still a really great book at this price. We'll have a look at some of the completed listings in a sec. 126 9.8s in the blue label. I really like that about it. A lot of times for like a first appearance of anything that's popular and it's been in a movie, there's like 600 or 700 of them in the 9.8, but only 126 in this one. So Annihilation Conquest, this is the first new Guardians of the Galaxy team when they first form. So definitely a negative for this book is there's no like first appearances in this book. Like it's the new Guardians of the Galaxy team, but it's all heroes that we all know and love kind of thing. So that's certainly a negative about this book, but I actually think that, maybe some people are kind of shunning this book because there is no first appearances. Whereas over time, the new Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be a pretty iconic team. And I think the first time you get the new Guardians of the Galaxies in a book is going to be a book you want to have, like, holding it for the long term. So, yeah, I think maybe because some people think, they don't buy it because there's no first appearances, I think that might be a bit of a positive to where it's just undervalued and underfollowed, and eventually over time it'll catch up because, yeah, it is the first appearance of new Guardians of the Galaxy if you're kind of the biggest Guardians of the Galaxy fan, this is one I recommend. 53.2%, the 9.8 ratio, so just over half of all of them are 9.8s. So again, not too rare for this one. Some of the prices though for Annihilation Conquest number 6, interesting because like 6 to 8 months ago, I had purchased my Guardians of the Galaxy number 1, which is kind of like the first full appearance of new Guardians of the Galaxy. But this one predates it. And there was one in Canada for, I think it was like $142 about 6 to 8 months ago. I had it on my watch list. I had saw some of these sell for $120. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll be patient and get one for $120 instead of $145 or whatever it was. That one ended up selling pretty quick. And since then, yeah, some of the few that I've sold since then, one on eBay for $215 here. And another one, it was almost $250. I think it was like $235. The other decent completed listings I saw recently. You don't see very many completed listings in this one to begin with only 126. So maybe we're pushing the affordable $200 budget here. But I think certainly at $200 or under, I think Annihilation Conquest 6 is one you want to buy in the 9.8 at that price. And maybe if you even really want it, you know, $215 would probably be my max. I wouldn't really go above that because, yeah, not a super rare one in the 9.8 or anything like that. But it is the first appearance of new Guardians of the Galaxy. And yeah, I'm on the other side where, you know, people might be negative on it because there's no first appearance. But actually, if you're a big new Guardians of the Galaxy fan, this is like the book to get. So it's going to be collected like a key, I believe, over time. So, Annihilation Conquest number 6, hopefully under $200 in the 9.8, is one I do recommend. Yeah, it's in some affordable, modern CGC 9.8 comic books. Okay, that's a full list of 7 there. Yeah, I'll have a list in the description below if you want to have a quick look. But I was really happy with it. I think each of these books, yeah, really, I said that at the beginning, they have good bang for your buck. And I think that's absolutely true. Yep. I, you know, certainly felt so much so that on the Totally Awesome Hulk 22, ended up getting out there and grabbing one. Yeah, so a good list here to consider in the midst of our, you know, our budget style videos here, where the next one's going to be $700 budget, and the last one was $600, and we did $500, $400. So kind of doing a lot of expensive 9.8 videos. So I thought throwing in an affordable one would be worth it. But yeah, hopefully you got some ideas on this one. I really like just all the books on this list. Turned out great, I think. Okay, thanks so much for watching today. If you haven't already, I would invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8. Yeah, I'd love to have you on our comic book collecting and comic book investing team. Hit the bell for all the latest notifications. Add me on Instagram and Twitter as well. All the links in the description below. But yeah, hopefully you got some ideas here on some affordable, modern CGC 9.8 comic books. Yeah, I was really happy with all of these and definitely so tempted on the Totally Awesome Hulk 22. I ended up grabbing one. Okay, but thanks so much for watching. As always, message me on Instagram if you had any questions about anything. All right, thanks again, team, and I'll see you on the next one.